I always believed that motherhood was a forever bond, unbreakable, sacred, and stronger than anything life could throw at me. My son, Adam, was my entire world. After his father passed away when Adam was 12, it was just the two of us against everything. I worked double shifts, skipped dinners, and stayed up late just to make sure he had everything he needed. His education, his clothes, his smile. People used to say, "You've spoiled him too much." But I would laugh and answer, "He's all I have." When Adam started working in another city, our calls became shorter. At first, I didn't mind. He was young, busy, chasing dreams. But slowly, I noticed something changing. The warmth in his voice began to fade. He stopped visiting on holidays, forgot birthdays, and when he finally did call, it was just mechanical. Then came Emily, the woman who, as I later realized, would change everything. He first mentioned her casually. "Mom, there's someone I'd like you to meet." Her name was Emily, a coworker, sweet, polite, and ambitious. That's how he described her. I was genuinely happy for him. I thought, finally, he's found someone who makes him smile again. Weeks turned into months, and I barely heard from him. Whenever I asked how Emily was, he'd say, "She's fine, Mom, busy." But every time her name came up, I could feel a quiet distance forming, as if my presence, my opinion, or my love didn't matter anymore. Still, I didn't complain. Mothers don't. We forgive the silences. We fill the gaps with hope. One afternoon, I decided to surprise him. It had been almost a year since he'd come home. I baked his favorite pie, packed some gifts, and took a bus to his city. When I reached his apartment, the doorman smiled politely and said, "Oh, Mrs. Collins, you're here for the newlyweds." My heart froze. Newlyweds. I laughed nervously, thinking he was mistaken. No, I said, "I'm his mother." The doorman's expression changed instantly, awkward, quiet, as if he realized he'd said something wrong. He stammered, "Oh, I saw the photos." Photos? I didn't even knock on the door. My hands were shaking too much. I called Adam instead. He answered after several rings. "Mom, why are you calling this early?" "I'm outside your building," I said softly. "I wanted to see you." There was silence on the other end, long, heavy silence. Then his voice, cold, hesitant, "Mom, now's not a good time." Not a good time. That's what he said. I swallowed hard. "Adam, someone mentioned the word newlyweds. What does that mean?" Another silence. Then quietly he whispered, "Mom, Emily, and I got married yesterday." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. My knees went weak. "Yesterday," I repeated, without telling me, without even a call. His voice cracked. "It just happened so fast. We didn't want a big wedding, Emily thought." I didn't even let him finish. "She thought what, Adam? That I shouldn't know my own son was getting married?" I don't remember much after that call, only that I stood there, holding the pie that was still warm, and felt a kind of pain I had never known. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was erasure. The realization that the person you raised, loved, and sacrificed for had decided you no longer belonged in their most important moments. I left the building without seeing him. That night back home, I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I used to help him with homework, where we'd laugh over silly things, where I once promised him that no matter what happened, we'd always have each other. The next morning, I woke up to a photo on social media. Adam in a suit, Emily in a white dress. Smiling. Hashtag, just married yesterday. No mother. No mention of me. Just the two of them, glowing, while I sat alone holding my phone, realizing that the world had moved on without me. I didn't cry. Not that day. But deep inside, something broke. Something that wouldn't heal easily. For days, I didn't know what to do. I'd wake up, make coffee, sit by the window, and stare at the trees outside, the same ones Adam and I used to decorate with lights during Christmas. I kept expecting the phone to ring, to hear him say, "Mom, I'm sorry. It was a mistake." But the silence stretched on, long and cruel. When I finally gathered enough courage, I sent him a simple text. I hope you're happy. I wish you both the best. No reply. A week later, I received a message, not from Adam, but from Emily. Hi, Mrs. Collins. Thank you for your message. We're really busy settling in. Maybe we can visit you sometime later this year. Maybe. That word burned. I wanted to scream, you stole my son. But I didn't. I just typed. Take care, I'll be fine. And I was, or at least, I learned to act like I was. Months went by. I started volunteering at a local shelter, helping elderly women with their meals and stories. One woman there, Martha, once said something that stuck with me. The hardest part about motherhood isn't letting go. It's realizing your child has already let go first. Her words settled in my chest like a truth I'd been avoiding. Still, every time I saw a young man with his mother in the grocery store, laughing or helping her with bags, I'd feel that hollow ache again. One afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Adam. Mom, he said, his voice hesitant. Emily and we were thinking of visiting next week. My heart jumped. That's wonderful, dear. He hesitated. But we'll only stay a night. We have other plans. Of course, I said, forcing a smile he couldn't see. A night is fine. When they arrived, Emily greeted me politely but without warmth. She was everything Adam had described, elegant, confident, but distant. They handed me a bouquet, lilies. Adam's favorite had always been daisies. We sat together in the living room, making small talk. Emily kept glancing at her phone. Adam avoided my eyes. At dinner, I asked, so how's married life treating you too? Emily smiled tightly. Busy, but good. We're already thinking about buying a house. Adam's company might relocate him to Chicago. Chicago. Farther away. Adam finally looked up. Mom, it's just an opportunity. Nothing decided yet. I nodded. Of course, you should go where life takes you. But inside, I knew they were already gone. Not just in distance, but in heart. After they left the next morning, I stood at the doorway watching the car disappear down the road. Then I walked back inside and sat at the same table again. The lilies they'd brought sat on the counter, beautiful, lifeless. For a long time, I thought about what revenge meant. Did it mean hurting them back? Making them feel the same loneliness I did? No, that wasn't who I was. True revenge, I realized, was peace. It was reclaiming the power they'd taken, the power to make me feel small, forgotten, unwanted. So I made a decision. I called my lawyer. Mr. Green, I said, I want to update my will. He was surprised. Of course, Mrs. Collins. Shall we include your son as beneficiary again? I paused. No, I said quietly. I'd like to make a donation instead to the women's shelter. It wasn't anger. It wasn't punishment. It was closure. A few months later, Adam called again. This time, his voice sounded tense. Mom, I heard from Mr. Green that you changed your will. Why would you do that? I smiled softly, though he couldn't see it. Because, Adam, sometimes the things we build aren't meant to be passed down. They're meant to help others start fresh. He sighed. Mom, this isn't fair. Fair, I repeated gently. Fair was when I raised you alone, when I gave everything so you could have choices. You made yours, Adam, and so did I. There was a long silence. Then he said quietly, Emily thinks you're trying to hurt us. I closed my eyes. If she believes that, then maybe she doesn't understand what love looks like. He didn't reply. The line went dead. Weeks passed. Christmas came around again. For the first time in years, I didn't wait for his call. Instead, I decorated the small shelter tree with Martha and the other women. We sang, laughed, and shared stories about our pasts, the mistakes, the regrets, and the courage it takes to let go. That night, as I sat by the window again, I finally felt light. Sometimes, revenge isn't about destruction. It's about reconstruction, rebuilding yourself from the ashes of someone else's indifference. And as the snow fell gently outside, I whispered to myself. I may have lost a son, but I found myself again. Spring arrived quietly that year. The trees outside my window bloomed early, and for the first time in a long while, I felt the warmth of sunlight without the weight of memories pressing on my chest. Life at the shelter had become my comfort. Every morning, I'd make breakfast for the women, pancakes, sometimes porridge, and we'd talk about their lives, their children, and the things they'd lost and gained. There was peace there, raw, unpolished, but real. One afternoon, Martha shuffled in with a small radio. "Mrs. Collins," she said, grinning, "we're playing old songs today." We laughed and sang along to the tunes we once danced to decades ago. For the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere again. It was a rainy Thursday when I got another call from Adam. I almost didn't answer, but something inside told me to. His voice was quieter now, worn, unsure. "Mom, I know it's been a while." "Yes, it has," I replied calmly. He hesitated. "Emily left. She said she wasn't happy. She took some money, the car, and—" He stopped mid-sentence, as if saying it out loud made it too real. I didn't say anything for a moment. Then softly I asked, "Are you okay?" He let out a breath. "I don't know. I thought I was doing everything right. I worked hard, gave her everything she wanted, but it was never enough." I could hear the exhaustion in his voice, the same tone I once used when life had broken me, years ago. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel anger. I just felt pity. "Adam," I said, "sometimes love isn't about what we give, but what we allow ourselves to lose in the process." He was silent, then quietly he said, "I miss you, Mom." It was the first time I'd heard those words in years. But I didn't let them sweep me away. "I miss you too," I replied, "but missing someone doesn't mean things go back to how they were." He swallowed hard. "I know, I thought I had everything figured out. Now I don't even know who I am anymore." I wanted to tell him, "You're still my son. You're still the little boy who used to hold my hand while crossing the street." But I didn't, because sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them sit in the silence of their own choices. Weeks passed before I saw him again. He showed up at the shelter one evening, drenched in rain, holding a small bouquet of daisies, my favorite. "Mom," he said softly, "I didn't know where else to go." I smiled and opened the door wider. "You're always welcome here, Adam." He looked around at the rows of women, the laughter, the warmth. "This is what you've been doing." "Yes," I said, "this is my peace." He nodded, eyes glistening. "I never understood why you changed your will. Now I do." I walked him inside. "I didn't do it to punish you, Adam. I did it because love isn't something we inherit. It's something we live or lose by the choices we make." He looked down, ashamed. "I hurt you, did I?" I placed my hand over his. "You didn't just hurt me, you forgot me, but pain fades. Forgetting, though, that leaves a shadow." He didn't speak after that. We just sat quietly, listening to the rain tapping against the windows. In that silence, I realized revenge had already run its course. He had lost more than I ever could take, the peace of his own heart. Months later, Adam started volunteering at the shelter too. He'd come every weekend, helping fix things, running errands, driving the women to appointments. At first, everyone thought he was my son-in-law. The irony wasn't lost on me. One day, Martha winked and whispered, "Looks like karma has a gentle touch after all." And she was right. Karma didn't destroy him, it humbled him. And maybe that was the quiet revenge the universe had planned all along. A year passed, and one evening Adam asked, "Mom, can I take you somewhere?" He drove me to a small park, the same one where we used to feed ducks when he was little. There was a bench there with a new plaque on it. It read, "For the mothers who loved too quietly, and the children who finally learned to listen." I traced the letters with my fingers. My throat tightened. "Did you do this?" I asked. He nodded. I thought it was time I said thank you properly. Tears welled in my eyes, not of pain this time, but of peace. Adam, I whispered, you don't owe me anything. He smiled softly. Maybe not, but I needed to do this for me. That night, as I sat by my window again, the world looked different. The stars seemed closer, the air warmer. I finally understood something. Revenge isn't always loud or cruel. Sometimes it's quiet. It's when life gives you a moment where you can forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. My son had come back. Not the same boy I raised, but a man who had finally learned what love truly meant. And as I turned off the light, I smiled and whispered, maybe some endings aren't endings after all. Maybe they're just the beginning of understanding.